Hi everyone, and welcome to this course Essay and Language Exercise, third year, Basic Education. As you see in the book I compiled, and in this presentation, the first lecture, we are going to see the thesis statement. This is a very important word in the art of essay writing. Thesis statement, we can underline. Thesis statement is that sentence or two in your text that contains the focus of your essay. Means the sentence or more than one sentence which gives you the focus of your essay and tells you, reader, what the essay is going to be about. So this is called thesis statement. Although it is certainly possible to write a good essay without a thesis statement, many narrative essays, for example, the narrative essays we do not see thesis statements, for example, contain only an implied thesis statement. Narrative essays contain only an implied thesis statement. The lack of thesis statement may well be a symptom of an essay beset by lack of focus. If you do not have a thesis statement, your essay will be lacking focus. Many writers think of a thesis statement as an umbrella. So it is the general idea. Everything that you carry along in your essay has to fit under this umbrella. It is the general idea, the main idea of the paragraph. Okay? And if you try to take on packages that do not fit, you will either have to get a bigger umbrella or something going to get wet. The thesis statement, okay, highlight, is also good test for the scope of your intent, your intention, what you are going to do. The principle to remember is that when you try to do too much, you end up doing less or nothing at all. Can we write a good paper about problems in higher education in the United States? At best, such a paper would be vague and scattered in its approach. Can we write a good paper about problems in higher education in Connecticut? Well, we are getting there, but that is still an awfully big topic, something we might be able to handle in a book or PhD dissertation, but certainly not in a paper meant to or for a composition course. So it is different. Can we write a paper about problems within the community college system in Connecticut? Now we are narrowing down to something useful, but once writing, we start writing such a paper, we would find that we are leaving out so much information. Okay? So many ideas that even most casual brainstorming would produce that we are not accomplishing much. What if we wrote about the problem of community colleges in Connecticut being so close together geographically that they tend to duplicate problems unnecessarily and impinge on each other's turf? Now we have a focus. This is the thesis statement if you are going to write about this community college. This is a focus that we can probably write about in a few pages, although more certainly could be said. And it would have a good argumentative edge to it. To back up such to back up such a thesis statement would require a good deal of work. However, and we might be better off if we limited the discussion to an example of how two particular community colleges tend to work in conflict with each other. It's not a matter of being lazy, it's a matter of limiting our discussion to the work that can be accomplished within a certain number of pages. So we learn from what we have read, that we should have a focus in the paragraph. Okay, this is called a thesis statement. The thesis statement should remain flexible, okay, until the paper is actually finished. It ought to be one of the last things that we fuss with in the writing process if we discover new information in the process of writing our paper that ought to be included in the thesis statement. Then we will have to rewrite our thesis statement. On the other hand, if we discover that our paper has done adequate work but the thesis statement appears to include things that we haven't actually addressed, then we need to limit that thesis statement. The thesis statement, we can say, must be descriptive. Okay, we are going to learn and apply this. If the thesis statement is something that we needed prior approval for, changing it might require the permission of the instructor or the thesis committee. But it is better to seek such permission than to write a paper that tries to do too much that claims to do less than it actually accomplishes. The thesis statement usually appears near the beginning of a paper. It can be the first sentence of an essay, but that often feels like simplistic, unexciting beginning. The thesis statement appears near the beginning of the paper, mostly beginning of the paper, at the beginning of the paper. It can be the first sentence, feels like simple and exciting beginning. It more frequently appears at or near the end of the sometimes at the end of the first paragraph or near the end appears at or near the end of the first paragraph, sometimes at the beginning, sometimes at the end of the first paragraph. Here is the first paragraph of Arthur Schleisinger essay, The Crisis of American Masculinity. Notice how everything drives the reader toward the last sentence and how that last sentence clearly signals what the rest of this essay is going to do. Let us see this example you are going to read at the book. So this is the first paragraph, and you see how the everything drives the reader towards the last sentence and how the last sentence clearly signals what the rest of the word is going to do. Okay, so if this is the first paragraph, we can read together. What has happened to the American male for a long time? He seemed utterly confident in his manhood, sure of its masculine role in society, easy and definite in his sense of sexual identity. The frontier men of James Fenimore Cooper, for example, never had any concern about masculinity. They were men that, and it did not occur to them to think twice about it, even well into the 20th century, and the heroes of Dreiser, of Fitzgerald, of Hemingway remain men, but one begins to detect a new theme emerging in some of these authors, especially in Hemingway. The theme of the male hero increasingly preoccupied with proving his virility to himself. And by mid-century, the male role had plainly lost its rugged clarity of outline. Today, men are more and more conscious of maleness, not as a fact, but as a problem. The way by the ways by which American men affirm their masculinity are certain and obscure. This is the last sentence. There are multiplying signs, indeed, that something has gone badly wrong with the American male concept of himself. This is the uh, thesis statement. It is located at the end of the paragraph. It summarizes the whole paragraph. Okay, the first paragraph serves as a kind of funnel opening to the essay, which draws and invites readers to discussion or into discussion. So the first paragraph, it is like invitation to read. Okay, where is the thesis statement? It is located at the end of the first paragraph. Okay, you will discover that some writers will delay the articulation of the paper focus. Paper focus means thesis statement. Its thesis until the very end of the paragraph. That is possible. You can use this, but normally people use locate the thesis statement at the end of the first paragraph or at the beginning of the first paragraph, not the end of the paper. That is possible if it is clear to thoughtful readers throughout the paper what the business of this essay truly is. Frankly, it is probably not a good idea for beginning writers. This can be helpful for advanced readers. Avoid announcing the thesis statement as if it were the thesis statement. In other words, avoid using phrases such as the purpose of this paper. This is not used frankly, in essay writing. We can use this in research. Okay, the purpose of this paper is, or in this paper, I will attempt to avoid these sentences. Such phrases betray this paper to be the work of an amateur. If anything, if necessary, write the thesis statement that way the first time. It might help you determine, in fact, that this is your thesis statement. But when you rewrite your paper, eliminate the bold assertion that is your thesis statement and write the statement itself without that annoying unnecessary preface. Okay, here are the first two paragraphs of George Orwell, classic essay Politics and the English Language, 1946. You can read in the book. Which of these sentences would you say is or are the thesis statement? Can you identify the thesis statement? Which of these sentences would you say is or are thesis statements of the essay which is to follow? Everything that follows in this essay then would have to be something that fits under the umbrella of the thesis statement. Read this paragraph or two paragraphs and find out the thesis statement. Okay, we can read together. Okay, these are the first two paragraphs and identify the thesis statement. Most people who bother with the matter at all would admit that the English language is in a bad way. You can read with me. But it is generally assumed that we cannot, by conscious action, do anything about it. Our civilization is decadent, and our language, so the argument runs, must inevitably share in the general collapse. It follows that any struggle against the abuse of language is sentimental archaism, like preferring candles to electric lights or hansom cabs to aeroplanes. Underneath this lies the half-conscious belief that language is a natural growth and not an instrument which we shape for our own purposes. Now, it's clear that the decline of a language must ultimately have political and economic causes. It is not due simply to the bad influence of this or that individual writer, but an effect and become cause, reinforcing the original cause and producing the same effect in an intensified form, and so on indefinitely. And a man may take to drink because he feels himself to be failure and then fail all the more completely because he drinks. It is rather the same thing that is happening to the English language. It becomes ugly and inaccurate because our thoughts are foolish, but the slovenliness of our language makes it easier for us to have foolish thoughts. The point is that the process is reversible. Modern English, especially written English, is full of bad habits which spread by imitation and which can be avoided if one is willing to take necessary trouble. If one gets rid of these habits, one can think more clearly, and to think clearly is a necessary first step towards political regeneration so that the fight against bad English is not frivolous and is not the exclusive concern of professional writers. I will come back to this presently and hope that by that time the meaning of what I have said here will have become clearer. Meanwhile, here are 5 specimens of the English language as it is now habitually written. So read it again, please. Read it again. You can see this in the book, and try to find out where is the thesis statement. Where is it located? Okay. So now in this lecture, we have seen that sometimes the thesis statement is located at the beginning of the sentence, sometimes located at the end of the sentence, and we can define the thesis statement as the focus. Here you can say the focus of the essay. So this is the beginning and the beginning and the introduction of the course by defining what is a thesis statement and how you can identify a thesis statement. And as a simple exercise, you can read these 2 paragraphs, okay, beginning with most people, okay, written by George Orwell, first 2 paragraphs, and identify the thesis statement. It's easy. So we are going to stop now in order to communicate and uh, create chat rooms and discussion on the platform, and can communicate in the class to see your comments and answer your questions. I hope you have enjoyed the presentation. This is the first presentation of our essay writing and language exercise. Thank you for your listening. Thank you.